So, I've realized that even though this channel is about 3D printing, I haven't actually talked about how one of these actually prints. So, let's go and find out. Oh no. So the way one of these works is by having a type of plastic, like for example PLA is which I'm using right now, and using a motor, it pushes the filament down this boarding tube, which is this tube here, into the nozzle, into the heating chamber, and comes out of the extruder down at the bottom. So the way the printer knows how to print is by first going to a software which slices your model into thousands, maybe millions of slices. I don't really know, but it cuts it up into tiny slices. It does this because the printer works by adding material to the bottom layer and then works itself up. It doesn't like build fluently through the air and stuff. It builds on top of each layer. So the software gives the instructions to create the object. Just like how an IKEA table will have instructions telling you how to assemble it, but way more detailed. Different materials require different temperatures and different environments. Like, for example, ABS, which I haven't used yet because it requires a lot more of the stuff that I just really don't want to get into, needs the heated bed. So for PLA, you don't really need a heated bed, but I just use it because it's easier to get a model such as this Homer Simpson easily off the print bed because it melts slightly, it softens up the bottom. But for ABS, if you want it to stick to the print bed, you need to have a heated bed, otherwise it will just start to deform and like come off the print bed. Other materials such as metal, you need a more expensive specialized printer because this is more of like a hobbyist printer, whereas the printers that print metal are more professional grade printers and not hobbyist. I guess you could buy one, but that would cost a lot of money, and I don't think the average user could afford like £20,000 or something to spend on a printer. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, this fan cools down the plastic that it lays. Otherwise, the plastic would be too soft to put another layer on top, and all of it will just like squish down and become a massive gloop, and that's not what you want. So this fan makes it cool down better. You could add more fans, but to be honest, this stock fan works well enough for me, and I've only ever had one time that it failed, and that's because I was 3D printing a bullet, but because the diameter was so thin, and it was going so fast, because it was one of the first things I printed, I didn't realize that the plastic needed time to cool down. So some of the layers, the plastic drooped a bit, which ruined the quality, but still got the point across, which, to be honest, it's good enough for me. Different printers have different ways of feeding the plastic to the nozzle and different ways it melts. So this printer has the filament going into the printer from here. So it has to go through this boarding tube and it gets pushed into there. But other printers have this motor positioned right above the filament, which means you end up using more of the filament that's there. So let's say you were in a shortage of plastic, like when I was printing that play button, I would have been able to use just a bit more plastic than I would have been if I used this printer, because of how far away this motor is that pushes the plastic through. And yeah, that's the basics to 3D printing and all the knowledge you need just to start off printing. Later I might do a review on this printer, just so you guys know what I'm printing with and how good of a printer it actually is. So yeah, goodbye.